what am I going to do when I go back? Don't want to go back to the same job. I hate that I am on such a low salary and I work really hard and I don't want to be a slave to this kind of thing anymore. And then I just thought, but I don't know how to do anything else. I've never done anything else.
Have you ever felt that way? Well, hi there, and welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Possivy, author of The Way Success Works. Today's guest was in the midst of traveling and absolutely dreaded the thought of returning to the work life that she knew was waiting for her back home in London, England. But then, what at first appeared on the surface to be a negative event in Northern Chile led to a really positive, life-enhancing decision for Anya Caister. Okay, so the decision was aided by a bottle of wine, but Anya will tell you about that. This episode is much less about a specific side hustle, but instead provides inspiration and motivation to make a change. If there's an aspect of your life right now that you know you want to improve or alter, I hope Anya's story gives you the desire and space to set aside any thoughts of I can't and instead focus on how you can. I first heard Anya's story in the back of a car at 4 a.m. in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. No, we weren't heading home after a night of partying. Actually, it was kind of the opposite. We had only met for the first time about 24 hours earlier, staying at the same accommodation. We connected, talked about our travels, and discovered that we both wanted to visit the same local temples, including being at one in particular at sunrise. So together we hired a private car and driver, and thus our day started at 3:45 a.m. I asked Anya to come on the show and share her story because of the lessons wrapped up in it for anyone hesitant to start or grow their side hustle. And if you're not already a subscriber, please join us by hitting the subscribe button. It just takes a sec and it really helps with our ranking. Thank you so much. Now here is my conversation with the now professional photographer, Anya Caister. Well, welcome, Anya.
Thank you. How's it going? Nice to see you again.
Great to see you too. Well, when you're not traveling the world, what type of work are you doing in the UK?
I do a variety of work. I think I'm one of those people that enjoys like a new shiny thing and I'm like quite project based. So I
Mm.
have what I describe as my like full-time income is project management in technology, a bit of product management as well, predominantly in like six products, 0 to 1 projects and data migration. So some non-sexy stuff and then some really cool stuff as well. Um, and then I would normally do that 9 to 5, typically for a couple of months or for 6 months, depending on the project. And
That's all contract work then, so you're self-employed? Okay.
exactly, yeah. And so when I'm not doing that, and when I'm kind of interviewing or having a bit of a break for travel or whatever it is, I also have a photography business which I started about 5 years ago, just under 5 years ago. And that encompasses commercial photography, personal photography. I also use that as a base for my tech work as well. So the business encompasses both photography and consulting. And I also do some acting or acting. I should put in inverted commas because it's more like background work. I just kind of like move behind real actors and, get paid for that. So
Oh,
that's
fun.
quite cool.
And everything that you said is that variety theme that you like.
Yeah, I think it kind of happened accidentally. I was never one to have more than one job before, one profession at a time. And I was also never one of those people that knew what they wanted to do when they were younger. So I never had this like career path per se to follow.
Right.
And so it's kind of just happened that way. And I'm really, really pleased it has. But it wasn't really part of the plan.
You mentioned the photography about 5 years ago as a side hustle. How did that come about?
It is quite the story, actually, and I consider it to be quite naff, but some people like it, and I do enjoy telling it because it's really sincere and really honest. Up until the age of 26, I was a complete amateur at photography. I enjoyed having a camera. I always had one. I annoyed every single friend in my life by always snapping away at their um, best selves and not their best selves. But they have me to thank for their memories, so no regrets.
Yes.
And then I basically, I never really thought about taking it seriously. I never really was molded that way, I'd say, growing up to feel like it was an option for me. Currently working for a business that was heavy in financial and compliance, and the clientele were very intense, very serious. It was a very stressful job as they go, I would say. I've had quite a lot of jobs, and it was a very stressful one. And it really drew me to leave. Like I was planning to go away anyway, but it was really just encouraging every bone in my body to jump on the plane. I remember
Can't
just
get there
thinking,
soon enough. Yeah.
every night I go home and like, can I want to go and like read up about a city or something? And I was a complete slave to the system. In other words, so I quit my job. I went on this incredible journey for 1 year around Central and South America.
Wow. 1 year?
One whole year. Yeah. So
Wow.
I saved everything. I didn't go out with my friends. I barely spent anything on food. I was like a student again. And I just saved everything I had and went on this trip. Some people buy a house. I went away for
Yeah.
a year. And it was phenomenal. But I got halfway around, and in Chile, in the north of Chile, there's a place called San Pedro de Atacama.
Yes.
And it's basically an enormous desert, as you know, if you've been. And it apparently rains about 4 days a year at this place. So I arrive, and it is chucking it down.
Oh, wow.
And so we have about 4 or 5 days there. So I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'll chill and just see what happens with the weather, and then we can go out and see it. Because at that point, everything's flooded. You can really go.
It's very desert-like.
Very desert like, and as you know, the landscape and agriculture there is just, it's so unique and exquisite, but we couldn't see any of it because they were all rained in, clouds everywhere,
That's
crazy,
crazy.
mental. So well, we're completely rained in for the whole 5 days that I'm there, and so I can't go out and see anything. And there are a few people there. Everyone's kind of like coming and going. Some people have a bit of sickness, so they're not really up for chatting. So there's a lot of alone time at this hostel, and the rain and gazebo and everything. You just find yourself like staring into the floor and staring and thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
And I found myself thinking, what am I going to do when I go back? Don't want to go back to the same job. I hate that I am on such a low salary and I work really hard, and I don't want to be a slave to this kind of thing anymore. And and then I just thought, but I don't know how to do anything else. I've never done anything else. And anyway, a few glasses of wine later, and so no thought. Um,
Chile is known for its wine.
it was honestly amazing. And I was bouncing off a few people before this, and we were talking about like salaries and jobs and what we consider to be a good job. There's a really kind, nice couple there from the UK who are also kind of reflecting and deciding what they were going to do on their going back. So we were all bouncing off each other. And then I had about 6 hours one day where I just sat under this gazebo with a bottle of white wine and just thinking, just as you do when you have nothing to do. I was just thinking.
Right.
Um, and I just thought, why don't I do photography? I love it. I'm obsessed with taking pictures. I love being behind a camera. Um, it annoyed me that I don't know how to use a camera properly. So I was like, I could learn how to use a camera, and then I could be a photographer. And then I was like, no, I can't. That's insane. And then the more wine I drank, I was like, yes, I can. I can do it. This is this is definitely within reach. And so I became obsessed. When you get a good idea, you just become obsessed with it, don't you? And I sat there for hours looking up courses that I could do, cameras I wanted to buy. I messaged a bunch of teachers and said, hiya, I really want to get this. I don't really have much confidence. I'm a complete amateur. What would be your advice? And just kind of did the research, put the work in.
It sounds like
And
suddenly you were on fire.
I can't explain it, Joan. It was like something just clicked. It was a proper light bulb moment. And I felt really happy. I felt really like energized from it. And
Yeah.
it felt like in the same way that it was like very clear to me that I wanted to go away traveling. When you have that light bulb moment, like, yes, this is something that I definitely want to do.
Yeah.
In the same way, when you meet someone that you get on with, like, so I really like this person, and I felt that way. I was like, yes, this is certainly something I want to do,
Yeah.
and I wanted to explore anyway. And I didn't really tell anyone about it, and I would promote that if you can, because people do tend to talk you out of things that are
Absolutely.
a risk. And so I didn't really share this with many people. And fast forward 5 months, I went back to London. And by the way, I didn't get to see anything in Chile, in the Chilean desert. So I do need to go back one day and see what it has to offer. But it's just gazebos and wine for now.
It sounds like the
And
location in that evening served its purpose, so
it was a
yeah.
great place. Yeah, it serves a great purpose exactly. And I went home and enrolled at the London School of Photography in a professional certificate course. It was a year long, but I did a condensed version of it to 6 months. And I ended up finding a job, a really great job actually, at product management that allowed me to have every Wednesday off so that I could take this course alongside my full-time work.
Oh,
So
perfect.
I work compressed hours. By that, I mean, I worked a full week within 4 days. Um, it was just when like I saw that flexible working was coming into play, and
Right.
it was a really great setup for me.
And it sounds like you
Yeah,
were so driven with this idea that it wasn't a matter of, "Can I do it or not?" The question, the shift in the mindset becomes, "How can I?" Like, "How can
absolutely,
I
and
fit it in?" Yeah.
totally. And the procrastination, I think, was disguised as not even considering it to be an option um, in the years leading up to, because yeah, I would say that I am quite driven, I'm quite determined. I do have quite a lot of tenacity when it comes to something that I want to do and that is difficult and that there are obstacles. I would say that I'm I'm blessed with that fight that, you perhaps need. And I also just don't care what people think. And I don't care if I mess it up or fail. I don't care if I fall over. So
That's a
that
wonderful trait to have.
helps.
Yeah. And it was after all those years of thinking about it, that there was that moment where you made that decision that, "I'm going to do this." And then that's a
Yeah.
whole different mindset. The old way is procrastination and fear and
Mhm.
not deciding, just staying where you are, which of course is an unconscious decision in itself. But
Yeah,
something clicked
exactly.
and you
And
thought, "I got to do this."
exactly. And it was a real means to an end because I had an end goal. I wanted to be a photographer. So this was like something I had to do before I could even consider working as a photographer. So it was like, I can go to this institution and I
Right.
can learn how to use the camera. I can do that. I can buy a camera and I can go to this wonderful place with the great teachers and learn everything I can about this camera and how to use it.
Yes, because you had to go through that course that you did the accelerated version. But that all that learning and education then would have built up your confidence to then basically put your shingle up to go out and get some jobs in in the photography world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And the reason why I chose this course because of the repertoire, b the caliber of the teachers who liked their work. That was a big part of the attraction. But also, you just got to build up this incredible portfolio that enabled you to then take it seriously. And there was a whole section on how to start a business, how to, approach clients, how to behave, how to all of the kind of niceties and the nuances that you do in your job that you kind of learn on the job. They taught you in this. So I've been programmed to work in an office. I can do the water cooler chat. I can do the coffee run. I can, do the things that kind of get you a bit further perhaps than just turning up. But then with photography, it's a whole new game, it's a whole new service. And so it was like real learned behavior that I had to kind of embody. Uh, so yeah, it prepped me for making that big decision and it gave you the confidence as well. You're working with other people. I am to this day incredibly good friends with a girl that I met on that course. We go out all the time and do some like darkroom stuff together. So that's been a really good outcome as well. I started working as a professional photographer just before lockdown. And I graduated from London School and I turned my basement bedroom into, oh, it was a very very blessed. It was a very big bedroom and it had half of the room that I put my lights and invited people to come and have headshots in this makeshift studio.
Yes.
And then was working before that. I also shot a wedding just before lockdown. And so I kind of started getting into it and obviously that happened. So everyone had to stay inside.
Yes.
Um, but I would say uh, nearly 2 years ago now, I quit my full-time job. So I was no longer working as a full-time employee. I had no contract that attached me to another company. Um,
Right.
but I was able, as I said, my business encompassed the consulting project management stuff that I did. So I could do both within the same box. And so that was when I quit, was a very scary moment. I talked to a lot of people about that. And the confidence that I gained at the school definitely aided me there. I was, last place I worked, I was surrounded by really, really wonderful people who I would say contributed to the confidence that I just made me see how it was possible to start your own business, to be a freelancer, to, you know, how do you do this part of your taxes? What would you do there? All the questions that I didn't know got answered by this really, really tight knit group of people that I knew and working with them. And so I was very lucky because that was probably an essential segment for me to make the jump.
Mm.
Um, I was also just very dissatisfied with my job. I had great people that I worked with, but the work was again quite corporate, quite,
Soul sucking.
oh gosh, just exhausting. And it would just drain all the good energy out of you. And you'd go home annoyed and irritable. And that would pass on to your friends and your family. And you just don't, I don't like that person. And so it was much about doing something that I love to be fulfilled as well as not be a slave to the system and to feel like I enjoy what I'm doing. And that
Yeah.
to me, that felt like I needed more autonomy with who I worked with and where the type of work and variety of work. So there was certain, so it's really nice to talk about this actually. It's really hard to summarize. There's so many things that feed into it. Um,
Yes. Because it sounds like you wanted to go out on your own for a while. What do you think held you back?
Certainly the steps that you need to take were
Okay.
not necessarily known to me, I would say. So it wasn't like I had freelancers surrounding me and I knew what to do and I wasn't doing it. I would say that I just didn't know very much about starting a business, going off on your own. And so that was a huge, I would say, initiative that I took to educate myself on. So that held me back because I didn't actually know the steps I needed to take. And I just thought it was something that I wasn't going to do, wasn't really, my path or whatever.
That's a good point because you're surrounded during the day if you're working 9 to 5 with colleagues
Mm,
who for the most part aren't running side businesses. They're used to being an employee, and if you're not surrounded by that in your friend circle either, it's like where do you even start, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's I've just remembered something. There was a person that I worked with at, the company where I was doing my study at the same time, and I was saying, "Yeah, I'm doing this course. It's great. I feel very, like, creative and fulfilled. It's fulfilling, like, a need that I wasn't doing before," and then I learned that this person was doing some blogging on the side and some this on the side. And I was like, wow, you do that as well as work. And that all of these like conversations that were sprouting out of me taking this course were probably contributing and adding to the confidence that I then needed to make the jump.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's people out there
like,
doing what I'm doing.
exactly. I'm not an
Yeah.
alien. Yeah,
Yeah. And if he can do it, if she can do it, so can I.
absolutely. I would say that the people thing probably did hold me back to some degree. I think I had certain people around me who were perhaps prompting me to take the easy option and, go for security and consistency and predictability, nothing too disruptive or nothing that's going to rock the boat too much. But there are a few people that were just, they weren't exactly egging me on to do something difficult. It was more of a, why would you, disrupt your current uh, situation? It's working, you're good at your job, blah, blah, blah. Uh,
'Cause it's my
but
life and I hate it.
exactly, right? Do I have to scream it out loud?
Yeah.
The people that kind of said, you know, you can just do it for fun. Why not? Like I wouldn't say that anyone kind of deliberately tried to hold me back. I don't think it was something as cynical as that, but there was lack of encouragement from some people, which probably did. I'm very influenced by the people I love, and comments like that go a long way. And so, yeah, it was probably a part of that as well. And
It's
I,
so
I'm a project manager. I look forward. I like understanding to some degree how something might roll out.
Right.
And I couldn't see it succeeding, I suppose, for a while. So that probably was it.
Yeah, because it's one thing to be on holidays in Chile and you've got this idea and you're fired up, and then you get home. Was there ever a point where reality hit and it's, what am I doing? Is
I
this
mean,
really what I should be upending my life over?
multiple times I had that feeling. Once was when I got back and the money that I had left after my trip was
Yeah.
spent on my cameras and my tuition. And because I mean it was an expense for sure. And that was going to be my buffer when I came back to then continue working or something. And so I spent it all on essentially an investment, cameras and tuition. And I didn't I did get a job fairly quickly, actually. I was very, very fortunate. I got a great job with a great company, a great charity, one that enabled me to study. Um, but before that happened and whilst I was interviewing, I remember feeling very, very just flustered. And I've just spent all this money on this. I'm booked on to do that, but I need money to be able to afford the next segment of payment. I don't have a place to live. And I was like staying at my sister's house and at my brother's house and my friend's house in London and like 1 week there, 1 week there. It was very, very chaotic. It was almost like backpacking again.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big scary moment.
Is
Um,
there is there one customer or gig or situation early on that stands out that was particularly fun or exciting, or it's like, "Oh my god, I'm actually doing this."
um, yes, I'm gonna say my first wedding that I did because it was just like on a different day, you might have said no, but for some reason that day I was like, I've never shot a wedding before. Sure. Like I can do it. I can definitely do it. So it was a really, really small wedding, thankfully. So only about 30 odd people. It was in North London. And I said, I will be yours for £300 for the whole day. I was like, I'll shoot the photos. For some reason, I was just in a saying yes mood. I said I would do the video as well. So I did a video and photography in one day, which I will never do again. Uh, because it's mental to do both, but also because the video was atrocious and I never want to see it again. I'm
Ah,
not a videographer, by the way. For those listening, I'm not a videographer, so don't ask. And it was chaos, with absolute chaos. And I remember going to the hotel in North London as the pre-shoot for the church. And so I was with them from, I don't know, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It was a
yeah.
really long day, as most weddings are. And my heart was racing out of my chest. And suddenly I was hit with lots of doubt and like, what if this is a complete mess? What if I just suddenly forget how to do my cameras? What if they fail me? What if they break? Like all those horrible thoughts that actually are still very much current for any job I get, really. I think the photographer anxiety is really real. Uh, anyway, I remember just being like, what am I doing? I don't know if I can do this. And then it's amazing how it just flowed and it just felt really right. I love doing it. So you suddenly stop thinking about what could happen and you start
Right.
doing it. And it's a really the
Focus, yeah.
focus, yeah, good word.
Pardon
Very
pardon the pun. Aha.
exactly, very accidental. It's impossible to think about anything else because all you can think and see is the lens and the people and the subjects. So it's very easy just to get into it and suddenly 4, 5 hours pass at a time. You
Wow.
change camera, you change lens, you move around. And it just worked. And I remember leaving and I rang my mum and I was like, I could literally do this. I could do this full time. Yes, I got paid peanuts and yes, I have loads of editing to do. That'll take me probably 2 weeks, but I can, I think I could do this. And I remember being very exhausted and
Sure.
overjoyed and really like just quite amazed that it had gone well. It happened. And yeah, it is a very, very good feeling. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Anya. So you still find that there's a little bit of that anxiety before every job?
I think, yes, but obviously not to the same
No, no,
element.
no. Yeah,
Degree. I meet every couple that I photograph for a wedding so that there isn't that kind of unknown. So the knowing who they are just, you know, erases that quite a lot. And obviously just having better equipment. I've upgraded since my first day and
sure.
so that helps as well. Yeah.
Yeah. you've got so many more tools in your toolbox now as a photographer than you did for that first wedding. Tricks of the trade, experiences, and as you continue to do that, that confidence builds. And yes, you might come up and will come up against new challenges, but you've got enough of a background that it's like, fine, we'll just deal with it. We'll figure it out. But on the business side of things, because this was new for you, what are some of the
Mm.
things, if any, that you were, say, not prepared for or didn't anticipate about running a business?
Well, everything was new from, writing contracts to advertising myself. Actually, that's probably the hardest part. Yeah, the advertising and selling yourself and the asking for work. I definitely, it's not my strong point, and I've definitely been talked down um with my rate quite a lot. In being in a position where I needed to work, I've been talked down a lot, which is just bonkers because there's so few jobs that you are like acutely aware of what someone earns, and then you like
Yes.
negotiate, especially in the UK anyway. It's not a damn thing, but for some reason people think it's okay to um, ask photographers if they can charge less, and other artists as well, other artists. And I definitely struggled with that for sure. Didn't realize that people don't stick to their words, and a lot of people pull out at the last minute. There's lots of rejigging. People break up before they get married. I didn't know that. That has happened. That's happened a few times.
Wow.
Yeah. There are also just some very picky people in the world, and then they acquired you and your skill set and your editing style and reruns and the redos and the can you do this and can you do that? They add up, and I certainly in my first year very much a yes person and just said
Yes.
yes to everything.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, but those sorts of things they chip away at what you want to be, and you work out what you're willing to tolerate and account for. So yeah, lots of learning curves.
Do you have people that you went through that course with, either teachers or your peers there, that you've had the ability to stay connected with and talk about some of these things that come up? Network is so important because there may be people in your life that you're like super close to, but they really don't get some of the challenge that you're facing as a photographer when you're in the middle of something with a wedding or whatever. So to be able to have conversations and say, how did you handle this when this happened? Because all those things
Yeah.
that you mentioned happen to other people, happen to other artists and in that situation. So it's like, how do you handle that? Oh, you get a down payment, for example. You don't call it a deposit because
Yeah.
that sounds refundable. But if I'm setting aside this date 6 months down the road, I'm saying no to other people, that type of thing, like the whole business side of it. So those mentors and people that are in it and doing it successfully are so important.
Absolutely.
What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Anya?
Oh, well, I am going through a bit of a rebrand, a bit of a refresh at the moment.
Mhm.
It will be my old website,
Okay.
but I have a website. It is lightorangephotography.com. And my email is Anya at Light Orange Photography. So you can contact me there. I also have an Instagram account, Light Orange Photography, and all my contact details are on there and on my website. So yeah, that's probably the best way. I'll reply, I promise.
Fabulous. We'll make sure those links are in the show notes.
Oh, great. Great.
So, what's your best tip to inspire others to start or grow their side hustle dream?
It's never as difficult as you think it's going to be. And it's way more exciting than it is difficult. And don't tell everyone your plans.
Be
Keep,
very
keep them to
selective.
yourself.
Be very selective who you share that with, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Well, thank you so much, Anya, for sharing your story. Very inspirational of how you can really turn your life around. It just takes that decision. And thank you so much for being today's Side Hustle Hero.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm honored. I'm so happy to be here. This has been it's been nice to talk about it. I don't think I have in such isolation before. So thank you.
Anya's story is the perfect illustration of a key principle of success, and that is the power of making a decision. Somewhere during that bottle of wine, she shifted from just thinking about becoming a professional photographer to the moment where she made that decision to become it, and then that opened the door for other elements to fall into place. Like finding a 1-year course that she could complete in 6 months. Like getting back to London and finding a great job that allowed her the flexibility to have Wednesdays off to take her camera course. Once you move your thinking past mere wishful thinking about something to making a commitment, it's like the universe conspires to make it happen, to join you in your quest. Don't wait for the perfect moment to act, or for a time when you think you'll be able to see every step in the process that will ensure great success, because of course, you'll be waiting forever. Instead, decide in your heart of hearts, is this something that you really want to pursue? If yes, then make the decision to go for it, and you will begin to see the next step. Do that. Then the next step will reveal itself. Then the next and the next. And then, like Anya, what was once a dream has become your reality. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find links to the sites that Anya mentioned and the full show notes at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would take a moment to add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start or grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.